Hi again. It's me, Jake, and
Christine.
And for once and for the first time in a while, we're gonna do something non-trailer related. I'm falling into the predictability of online reviewers and gonna try doing a vlog series. And it's actually for a show that I'm familiar with. I've seen every episode, but Christine hasn't.
How many episodes are there?
I think 6 or 7 actually.
Okay.
There weren't that many, but the ones that were, I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
The show we're going to do a vlog series for is The Reviewers, a web show by Brad Jones, a.k.a. the Cinema Snob. And The Reviewers, before I get into it, I got to talk a little about the history of it. You see, back in 2013, Channel Awesome was doing its yearly anniversary special, which they have stopped doing, but when they did, they would make a feature-length movie once a year to celebrate all the producers on their site. And usually they would fly everybody into Illinois, but for the 5th year anniversary, they couldn't fly everybody in, so they instead have 5 specific producers make their own short films, which they made as an anthology movie. And Brad Jones made the middle movie, which was a 30-minute short film called The Reviewers. And The Reviewers is basically about internet reviewers starting out trying to make it big. And while it's mostly a comedy, and it does touch upon some issues that some internet reviewers face, and also showing how certain attitudes can not really benefit you.
Yes. And
like last time, I admit we are kind of stealing Brad's format. Please don't sue. But hey, we're reviewing his product, so it's more of a tribute, I think.
Yes.
And he actually encourages people to try this style out, because it shows that anybody can do it.
And I just think it's fitting that in October, because I'm wearing black and the background is black, it almost looks like I'm a floating head. Sorry.
Put down your hands and you are a floating head. And my hair in the dark makes me look like a mutant. And I really love The Reviewers. The first time I saw it was in the 5th anniversary movie called The Uncanny Valley. And I loved all the short films it had. But Brad's, it was very good, and it's the only short film that ever went beyond just being a segment for the Uncanny Valley movie. And he made it into a series, and it only lasted 1 season in the year after the Uncanny Valley was made. They made the Uncanny Valley in 2013, and he started making The Reviewers a regular series in 2014.
Oh, very nice.
But we just watched the original short film after a lot of technical issues.
Technology has its issues.
So I've said what I think about it. What did you think about it?
I thought it was really interesting. I guess a little bit more on the backstory. I was curious so in 2014, where were they? Where they had become established by then?
Oh, they were established way before they did the first short film. Brad had been established back in 2007, I think. And he joined Channel Awesome around 2010. And then they just kept making projects. And Brad made his own projects. Everybody on Channel Awesome does their own stuff. A lot of them have more than one show. And Brad has had quite a few shows, actually.
Yeah.
And The Reviewers is also interesting because most of Brad's projects feature him as the leading role. But here he only has a small cameo.
Yeah.
And
kind of gave the spotlight to others.
The main actors in The Reviewers, the original short film, are Brian Lewis and Jake Norville. And Brian Lewis plays a kind of a really sad sack of shit named Andy, who reads an article about internet reviewers and how some of them can make a living. So he decides to do it because he loves movies, loves talking about them. But he also wants to be famous, which many internet reviewers have said is the worst reason to do it.
Yes.
We do it because we love it. And his best friend, Jeff, Jake Norval's character.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
In a weird
And
way.
just to acknowledge it, because some people probably would be upset if we didn't. Yes, I know all about the controversy surrounding Jake Norval, and I think I've explained it to you.
Yes, you have.
And what happened, and for anyone who doesn't know, Jake Norval was Brad Jones's, one of his best friends, and then Brad found out that his girlfriend and Jake were sleeping with each other behind his back, and...
Was that the girl in it?
No.
Okay.
No. And I'm only bringing this up so that people will understand what we're talking about, because even if you say the incident or something, or allude to it, if you allude to it, there are going to be some people in the comments who are like, what happened?
Yeah.
But I just bring that up. I know all about what Jake Norval did, and I admit it sucks, but we're here to judge the work he did in the past, and I think that's kind of what matters. Mm-hmm. And even though it's a little hard to watch him at times, I still think watching him is pretty hilarious. The Jeff character, like, both Andy and Jeff are very funny, but Jeff is just, there's something about Jake Norval and the way he delivered himself, and he was just had a real goofball, almost stoner attitude, and a little gruff, little rough. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did well putting that in his characters, but still giving them some humanity. Mm-hmm. Yes. More than he did in real life. But yeah, and both these characters are very funny. Brian Lewis, I've seen him in almost every show Brad has done after 2010. Mm-hmm. And Brian Lewis, he's a very soft-spoken guy and very down-to-earth. In the midnight screening show, he's very popular. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, he has the nickname Slaver Brian. Which doesn't make sense because there actually is another Brian in Brad's team. Yeah. Brian Irving. And you'd think Irving would be the one to get that name because he is known for making a ton of kind of racist jokes. But no, it's Brian Lewis who gets it. Huh. And what did you think of Andy?
Andy, I felt like, was a great portrayal of probably many people. I mean, besides like maybe his heart and why he was doing it, he was a great portrayal of just, I feel like, how people are in the reviewing, just like a normal person who's trying to make it. I felt like I could really connect with who he was and almost see him in other reviewers, and then kind of like knowing you and like kind of your kind of process through this whole thing, and just kind of like really see parts of his issues in kind of what you're talking about at times. And I guess as a character, he was funny. His humor was kind of like you just felt sad for him, but like, I mean, he definitely pulled a couple jokes. Yeah.
I do see a bit of myself a little in the show with these characters.
I guess they're issues.
I mean,
that they come about, and I'm sure every reviewer comes about. Like,
yeah. I mean, well, how do I put this? I see the same ambition that I have.
Yes.
And that I had when I started. Mm-hmm. Kind of in the Andy character. Mm-hmm. Unlike him, when I started making videos, I didn't really I didn't believe I was going to be successful right away.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm still not that very successful. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of funny because in the film, he and Jeff are talking, and Andy, being very mopey-ish, just goes, it's been 4 hours and we only have 20 hits. Dude, I'd be lucky if I get 20 hits in a month. So, that actually seems pretty good.
Yes. But just like that, like, desire of, like, and debate, like, trying to figure out how do you get your movies watched and not get them watched, and, like, do you have to have a plot? Do you have to have a costume? Do you have to be theatrical? Do you just talk? Those kind of debates, probably.
The Jeff character, who is he plays the kind of movie reviewer that incorporates, storylines. And many people have talked about how when watching him, it kind of becomes clear, or it's alluded to, that he's a parody of people like Louis Lovehog or Eric Rodriguez, Linkara and the Blockbuster Buster, who incorporate storylines, and in between reviews, they have a lot of special effects on their shows, or they have just a bunch of extra characters.
Yeah.
Except Jeff is kind of, I guess, it's like what Linkara's show would be like if all he had was $20.
Sad foil hats.
Yeah.
Like the movie from the Signs.
Yeah.
Take me to your leader.
You know, like Brad just decided to make he just decided to, even though no one, like, the people who review movies on the internet, they are by no means losers, but it's obvious that the Jeff character is kind of meant to be sort of a little losery, because he's filming in his car with a bunch of toys, and he's acting like it's high quality in his head. A little Ed Woodish. And some of the jokes in the show, within the show, are pretty stupid, but that's the point.
Yes. The Messiah.
Yeah, and halfway into this short film, they talk about how their internet idol or hero is this guy called the Messiah. And at first you wonder, who are they talking about? And then we see the Messiah is a YouTube personality who dresses up like Jesus if he gave up halfway through.
Terrible wig.
Yeah, and he spouts what may sound a little gospel-y-ish, but if you know anything about the 60s or the 70s, you'll recognize what he's saying. Everything he says, like when holding the book, they're song lyrics. Especially at the end when Andy was like, as the Messiah said, I'm just a poor soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. At least I think the Messiah said that. If he didn't, I'm gonna look like a fucking jackass. And
I'm sure he did.
And the Messiah character, someone joked that if they wanted to portray like every internet reviewer's idol, they shouldn't have had, like, you get the joke, he's dressed like Jesus.
Yeah.
But if they really wanted to drive the point home, they should have had it be a guy similar to someone like the Angry Video Game Nerd, who is pretty much the original online reviewer. He was around before the Nostalgia Critic. And this is where Brad Jones's cameo comes in. He plays like a former child actor who's just doing an interview because he needs money, I think. And the Messiah just gives him shit. What did you think of the Messiah character and Brad's little character?
The Messiah character was hilarious. And then Brad Jones I think portrayed the stereotypical child star, kind of sad, soppy, not sad, soppy, but like trying to make it big, probably has anger issues. I mean, he does reach across and strangle the guy afterwards.
Yeah. But he does have a reason.
Yeah, it's true.
The Messiah keeps forgetting his name, and he's like, "Who are you again?" And he says, "I'm Kirk Cameron." Nah, Kirk Cameron's more likable than you.
I don't know, it kind of reminded me of like when, I guess, old actors who are back when get interviewed, and I don't know, they're trying to make it big again, but then they don't really got it.
Yeah. And, I forgot to ask, did you like the Jeff character?
Yeah. I thought he was relatable. I think it was kind of funny. I mean...
Like, they
I don't know
haven't
if I would
done...
want to be friends with him, though.
That's the... The deal with Jeff and Andy is they're lovable, but it's hard to... And they're sympathetic at times.
Yes.
But
I relate to the character.
But it's hard to like them at times. They haven't gotten bad yet, but by the 6th or 7th episode, their lovability has gone down a little.
Oh, God.
But they are still funny.
Yes.
And and like Jeff in this at the beginning, he had a little bit of a realistic thinking pattern. He was still a little deluded about how good he thought he was, but he did think a little more realistically than Andy.
Yes.
But the most realistic thinker in the reviewers, I think, is Michelle, Jeff's girlfriend, who's played by Sarah Lewis. And Sarah Lewis, she's extremely talented. She's one of those people that's been with Brad since before the Cinema Snob was even a thing. And she's very talented. She was the lead in one of Brad's movies, The Hooker with a Heart of Gold.
Oh, yeah.
Where she plays a hooker who gets a heart transplant by a mad scientist, and the heart's literally made out of gold.
I'd want him. He'd be more than $1 million.
Yep. And in the beginning, she is definitely a very realistic thinker. At the beginning, she's not very... I didn't find her, when I first saw the original film, very likable. I thought she was kind of bitchy, but as the show goes on, she definitely becomes, maybe not my favorite, but the most sympathetic character on the show. And I love the running joke about how the guys will talk about their characters almost like they're real, and people go, "You do know they're just characters, right?" And also, Jeff and Michelle being a couple. At the time that they made the reviewers, Jake Norville and Sarah Lewis, from what I've read, I could be wrong, but I've seen many sources on this that they actually were a couple at the time.
I could see the connection.
Yeah, and they broke up by the time the reviewers. And they broke up. They broke up by the time the reviewers became a regular show, and then they wrote that into the latter series.
Oh.
Brad has a way with working around things.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how that goes.
And anything else? Oh, two things. What did you think of that scene with Andy's boss? He has Andy's job, remember, is to answer the phone.
And the boss is getting all annoyed that he's making private phone calls and all of that. I felt like it was kind of filler, like, I don't know.
Maybe. I think it adds something to Andy's character to show that he can do an adult job. He lacks maturity for it.
Yes. It's a good, back story kind of thing.
The actor playing the boss is a guy named Ed Glazer. He runs a DVD company that digs up almost forgotten films and then re-releases them. Mostly Turkish films.
Yeah.
And I have to know, what did you think of the Rickhead?
Spot on troll. That does videos and is not afraid to be not anonymous.
Yeah. The Rickhead character, there's this character called the Rickhead, who's a YouTuber who has made it big, and his whole career is based around shitting and ripping into other YouTubers. Mm-hmm. He's just a huge asshole, and you see a ton of people on YouTube who do this, and just make random videos about random topics of the day, and, well, while there are some smart videos where people do that kind of format, there are those people that don't think when they do it. And some people have compared the Rickhead to the Amazing Atheist. I disagree very much, because...
Yeah, no.
The Amazing Atheist, he actually is smart, and he adds a lot of... he's very articulate, and he does add a lot of discussion to the topics he talks about. Mm-hmm. And
I feel like his... Sorry to interrupt you, but, like, I feel like his stuff is, like, realistic in what he's, like, actually, like, discussing. Yeah. Where, I mean, the Rickhead is just, like, made up something completely outlandish.
He's he's like a conspiracy theorist.
Yes. But yeah.
Some people have thought some people think he's like this guy called the Archfiend, I think. I don't know much about the Archfiend. I tried watching a few of his videos, just because he came up when I was searching someone like the Amazing Atheist or the Angry Video Game Nerd. Mm-hmm. And he's made a lot of videos where he shits on the Angry Video Game Nerd, calls him a scammer and a bunch of stuff, and he just doesn't come off like a very pleasant guy.
Yeah.
And when the Amazing Atheist had a scandal a few years ago where a video of him, kind of a sex tape of him, got released on the internet, the Archfiend made a video where he commended TJ for making a video where he owned up to it and said that it didn't bother him. And while doing this video, he said he didn't watch the video, saying, "I don't want to see the Amazing Atheist naked. I masturbate to lesbian porn." He came off as very snivelly and arrogant.
Yeah.
Very,
could be. I would say similar.
Yeah. Me, I didn't know about this guy when I first saw the reviewers, but the more I watch the Rickhead character, the more it kind of reminds me, I'm pretty sure Brad didn't base the character on him, but the Rickhead kind of reminds me a little of Brett Keane. Brett Keane, I'm pretty sure you don't know who that is.
I do not.
Unless you're a fan of The Amazing Atheist or The Drunken Peasants, trust me, you will not know who Brett Keane is. But just Google him, look him up on YouTube. And I don't recommend watching his videos. I'd say go to the Drunken Peasants YouTube channel, where they sometimes cover Brett Keane's videos. They play them and give their opinions. But not everybody can handle the Drunken Peasants, so if you have a strong stomach, look up Brett Keane. He is probably the embodiment, whatever the word is, of the internet troll, someone who will do literally anything for attention. He is just horrible and kind of reminds me a little bit of the Rickhead, except for the Rickhead actually shows emotion. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this, start a vlog series with you, and have the reviewers be the show, is Brad Jones, he's written a new movie, and shooting starts, I believe, next month. And the show, for those who watch, Brad will know, on the midnight screenings show, they constantly watch, they go to religious films, the propaganda type religious films, and then they just rip into them in the car like we're doing. And they've seen so many of them that Brad wrote a screenplay for a kind of religious parody movie. And this movie is called Jesus Bro. It looks promising from what he's talked about it. okay, I shouldn't say looks, it sounds. They haven't filmed yet.
Mm-hmm.
But what Brad has said has really made me feel interested. And why am I bringing Jesus Bro up? Because the main character in Jesus Bro is the Rickhead.
Oh, shit!
Yep. Yep.
Oh, interesting.
And according to Brad, he's not going to be as extreme as he is here on the reviewers. But I'm still curious, how do you make the Rickhead
An actual character?
Yeah. And the Rickhead is definitely one of the edgiest characters that Brad has made. I mean, he has made a lot of edgy stuff, but he's not as extreme as he was, say, 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. He's still very R-rated, but he's a little more, like, I think, level-headed in how he writes his humor.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's gonna be a lot of humor that's a little outlandish, a little.
The Rickhead, he's very extreme, and the best example I can give is the character. Like, there might be some internet trolls. I don't go looking for internet trolls, so I can't verify this. But the Rickhead character openly calls people. He talks like he is high and mighty, a great thinker. And he says, you people should be ashamed, and I can judge you because you're so awful. And then he outright just calls them faggots. And he also calls people, like, cunts and stuff. He is just a horrible... And I think the character... The Reviewers is a great show, but I think the Rickhead character could turn a few people off at times, just because... sensitive.
Yeah.
But he is a troll, and...
That's what trolls do.
Yeah, and the guy who plays him, David Gobble, he does a terrific job, I think. Dave is Brad's best friend, and Dave, I've seen him he hasn't done a ton of roles in Brad's work. He moved away for a while at one point, but now he's back, and... What did you think of Dave's performance as the Rickhead?
I'm spot on for playing a really I want to say trashy, but like, yeah.
Attention-seeking?
Attention-seeking, angry, yeah.
Guy apparently doesn't have much of a life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have much of a life either, but...
I think the script writing was pretty spot on.
Yeah, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And, and Dave, he can really emote the anger.
Yes.
And Dave, I don't think he's that tall. I know he's a little overweight, and he has that, scraggly facial hair, so he has that sneer, the eyebrows. He's a pretty big guy, and he can look threatening.
Yeah.
So I think, he can really nail that part.
Mm-hmm. I feel like when I think of a troll, I could like see him as like, because usually trolls are like anonymous, usually writing comments and stuff like that. But like, I almost like now, like every time I like read some comment, I'm gonna like think of like the Rickhead like saying it.
Good face to put with it, I guess. Oh wait, no, it'd still be Dave's face, and I love Dave too much. I'll show you a picture of Brett Keane and put that as the face of a troll.
Okay.
So, final thoughts?
I'm excited to see more.
Good. And next time I'll see you, I think I'll show you, obviously the next episode, but I think I'll show you more than one this time.
Okay.
And, yeah, the show ends with Andy kind of quitting his job and getting a little support from his sister, and the final scene has them finding out that their shows have gotten a lot of views, and they got the views because the Rickhead watched their show. And Andy's a little pissy, and then Jeff points out that even though he's shitting on them, the fact that he's so popular and he mentioned them is what gets them attention. Mm-hmm. And it's obvious. Everybody knows this. No publicity, bad publicity is still kind of good for you. But it's still, well, it was well done, well written, and well acted, and it leaves on an ambitious note that makes you want more, and we did get more.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love the original reviewers, and can't wait to show you the rest of the show. And I don't know if you'll like it as much as the original, but it'll definitely be an interesting journey, I think. Later.
Adios.